We're sitting on the world famous Billy Jones Railroad, Wildcat Railroad, and I've got a man who also knows everything, John Lochner, mayor of Los Gatos. What years?
Well, 72 and 80.
72 and 80.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there talking to you, and I said, hey, did you know Billy Jones? He says, did I know Billy Jones? How'd you know Billy Jones?
Well, I first met Billy Jones back in the early 60s. I have 5 children, and I live, well, actually my house is in Los Gatos, but my garage and swimming pool are in Monte Sereno.
That is so weird. How do you pay your taxes?
I get 2 tax bills.
Really?
Yeah, and that's another story. We could do a whole program on that.
Well, let's do it.
No, anyway, I have 5 children.
And that's wonderful.
And every Sunday morning, the kids would get all excited when they'd hear the engine, the bell.
Yeah.
The Billy Jones, they'd hear the whistle, and they'd say, "Daddy, Daddy, can we go to Billy Jones? Can we go for a ride?" So, okay, we pile in the station wagon, go over to Billy Jones, and there was no cost, no charge for that. He didn't charge admission. He had this jar sitting on the sill.
Donation tips.
Yeah,
for
donations. So, everybody'd throw in $1 or $2 or whatever like that.
Yeah.
But, all that money that he raised from that, he put right back into the community, to help support other events and things that took place in the community. So that's my first involvement. Then he had a fire in the roundhouse, and I was working for a contractor in Los Gatos as a carpenter at that time. But this fire burned a big section of the roundhouse.
And we're talking about at Dave's in Winchester. The roundhouse was on his
yes.
property.
Oh,
okay.
yeah, on his property in Monte Sereno.
In Monte Sereno.
Yes. But so there were about 3 contractors that got us all together, and we went there and we worked about 3 weekends in a row.
Nice.
And we rebuilt the car barn for them. So that was my no other involvement with that until after Billy Jones passed away, and then we decided to a group of people got together, headed by Bill Mason Sr., and they formed an organization, and they were successful in bringing the railroad from the apricot orchard down here to Oak Meadow Park, where it currently resides.
And you were on that committee?
No, I wasn't on the committee, but it was a small board at that time, but they did an awful lot of work, and I was involved in the Lions Club, and we supported it. We helped to build things here.
Well, I heard, in fact, that you built this area where we're sitting, the awnings, I guess the clock
I added on
tower, the house over here.
Yeah, I got involved in it a little bit later, and in the 80s and 90s I was more involved in it, and in the 90s I became involved much more on the board, and I became president of the board for about 6 or 7 years.
Of course you did.
Yeah, but during that period of time we built the addition to the carousel office here, which is the office now, and we added an addition on the car barn for the alongside and closed that. And then I was involved in the turntable. Actually, I ran the Bobcat and dug the hole for the turntable up there, and so I've been involved in that part. But
so what
there's
is
a whole new people come and go.
Sure.
And they come and go.
And that's what makes things last.
And that's what makes things
Yes.
go. Yeah, there's so many great volunteers here. The engineers, the time that they put in, to become a part of this and come down here, and nobody's getting paid for this.
No, but you know what? I guess the payback is when you come here on a weekend and you see the kids laughing and smiling and saying, "Mommy, can we go on a ride? Daddy, can we go now?"
Yeah.
This and that.
Oh, yeah.
And you too.
Yes.
Got to bring back great memories.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was down just shortly after they started up again, 2 Sundays ago. Came down and went for a ride and checked things out, and what else can you do?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Monte Sereno. You made me laugh when you said, my house is in Los Gatos, my backyard is in Monte Sereno. Tell me about Monte Sereno. Tell me your Monte Sereno. How would you describe Monte Sereno?
Well, it's always been described as a stuffy community, you know.
But I'm looking at you, and obviously it's not.
My property in Monte Sereno, I don't get a vote. I have no vote in Monte Sereno because my house is in Los Gatos.
You got to put your beds out in the backyard, maybe, or something.
By the swimming pool.
Yeah.
But
tell me about Monte Sereno. What do you say?
Well, it's a community that is pretty much the way it was back in the 60s. You know, I think it was, what, 57,
57 is when it was incorporated.
When it became a community.
Yeah.
It really hasn't changed much. There's no commercial in there. Part of the annexation, Los Gatos and Monte Sereno, when I was involved in the council, we tried to straighten out the boundaries between Monte Sereno and Winchester Road. Out past where Villa Feliz was, there is a street that goes up into Monte Sereno, and it's has a Los Gatos address. And then down here closer, back at the DMV office, there's a street that goes down towards the University Avenue, which is part of Monte Sereno. So we said, well, why don't we straighten these boundaries out and make that the same? Well, it was turned down by Monte Sereno because that street had some apartments on it, and they did not want any apartments. So that's the boundaries remain that same way today.
Although now they're getting townhomes.
Yeah.
Which is just a little fancier word for an apartment. So they're sort of getting apartments in a way.
So it's remained pretty much the same. I mean, it still has the same attitude that it has before, and which is nothing wrong with that. It's a beautiful community.
It's a wonderful community.
It has great views, you know.
Yeah.
Great people.
People tend to stay.
Yes. Yeah. So that's that.
And a perfect neighbor for Los Gatos.
Yes.